Call it fate, call it luck, call it karma.
You're listening to Fate, Luck and Karma, a Ghostbusters fan podcast from the West Midlands Ghostbusters.
Hello and welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of Fate, Luck and Karma. As you've heard, it's a brand new podcast, a Ghostbusters fan podcast, no less. From us, the West Midlands Ghostbusters, we are coming at you live from the heart of the United Kingdom, specifically in England, in the West Midlands. We are a merry little band of about 300 Ghostbusters fans who initially met on Facebook and then have, to various degrees of success, met up in the real world, gone out and done events and party in the park shows, and just this weekend, a couple of our merry men have gone and delivered a cake to a very lucky girl's birthday party. We do loads of kind of cool stuff like that. Before you learn any more about us, you should probably meet your capable hosts. My name's Dean Riley, and I am here with
Jay Wood.
Lee, hi, hello.
Dear Wilson.
All right, so let's have a chat then, folks. We've had a bucket load of stuff going on this week in the wonderful world of Ghostbusters news. I want to come to you guys and get your take on, well, some of that news, really. The first one, probably to start off, furthest away from the day that we're recording this, there's been a photo doing the rounds of Gil Keenan, obviously director of the possibly untitled Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel, posing with a set of ecto goggles on his head and throwing up, depending on your cultural references, a peace sign, a V sign, a Ghostbusters 2 Moogly, two fingers in the air kind of sign. Gentlemen, what do you make of it?
I mean, it could be something. It could be teasing the return of Vigo, because I know that was a thing that was discussed at one point. But I mean, I don't know. It could be anything.
Jay, you have a theory?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had Go's return. Are we going to see Vigo's return as well? At this point, we know nothing. We literally know nothing.
Yeah, we would like to pretend that we've got the kind of insider scoop on this, but we very much do not. This is pure, unfiltered speculation.
I mean, I wish we did have the scoop. Yeah.
That would be lovely. Well, we may well do, but maybe he's just kept it under his hat. Theo Wilson, what do you say? Is it a 2? Is it a piece? Is it a, oh, look, I can see 2 fingers through these things. Are we overthinking it? What do you say?
It could be any number of things. I mean, it could be, Vigo was a decent enough, more than decent villain. I mean, it will be bringing it back to a new generation. I mean, it could be just pure speculation. It could be when the film inevitably comes out with whatever title it may have, we may know what it meant, or maybe none the wiser. Until then, we don't really know. I mean, it's just up in the air speculation.
On premiere day, I will play that clip back, and then we'll know. We will know, Theo. But it does raise an interesting point. If we, there were mostly positive reviews, right, for Afterlife. I know that we've spoken offline about our reactions to that movie, and quite emotional reactions at times, but there was certainly some criticism that essentially what Afterlife was a bit of almost a direct retelling of the original movie, just with a kind of a Stranger Things, Goonies kind of vibe. If they did go down that route of essentially retelling Ghostbusters 2, in 5 words or less, going around the table, Lee, would you have an issue with essentially a retelling of the Vigo story?
Yes and no. I would like to see, if they bring the character back, I would like to see something different done with the character, so it's not a complete retelling. But I also think maybe they should potentially look at doing other things, other characters. That was a few more than 5 words.
That's all right. You're allowed. You're allowed. You missed the opportunity to talk a little bit when your internet dropped out, so you can claim those words back, mate. It's all good. Jay, how about you? Vigo, yay. Vigo, no.
You know, it's one of them things, isn't it? I mean, if we'd known all about the return of Gozer, we'd be having exactly the same conversation. The fact is, there's going to be different sects, there's going to be different worshippers, different temples, different tombs. So I wouldn't like to see a reboot, but I'd certainly, I'd welcome the extension of the story.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And how about you, Theo? Would you welcome seeing everybody's favourite Carpathian leering down a new generation?
I mean, it would be a good spin. I mean, definitely you could imagine the up-to-date special effects they'd have in place if they did decide to bring him back. However, the universe of Ghostbusters is large enough that it could be any number of beings, beasts, demons that they tackle. It could be any number. I mean, it would be a welcome return, but at the same time, they've got an opportunity to put a completely different spin on a very blank, albeit not completely blank canvas, but an opportunity to explore a larger universe.
I'm not sure if that was an intentional pun because of the whole, Vigo painting thing, blank canvas. Either way, I'm here for it. I'm loving it. No, it's all good. We will see. We will see what happens. And speaking of blank canvases, and speaking of the next story, we have allegedly a new working title for the Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel. We've already heard that it was under the working title of Firehouse. We've already seen some behind-the-scenes photography and some slightly embarrassing leaks from inside the set from a lovely local tiling company who we won't name, but it's out there on the internet if you want to find it. And now we allegedly have the working title of Hell's Kitchen. Jay, let's maybe come to you on this one. Hell's Kitchen, obviously not the nicest part of New York. It would be taking us over to the West Coast and a little bit away from central Manhattan, but working title, something that's actually going to end up being reflected in the story, or just another glorious red herring?
It's got me excited, the Hell's Kitchen, as Hell's Kitchen's always been an area of a lot of stories. Obviously, getting over to the Marvel side of things, it's where Daredevil's from. There's just so much that can be done with this. I mean, if anything, it's going to reaffirm that we are going to be based into New York, which is good. People have been saying about it coming over to the UK. I don't believe that for 1 second. I think it's just sound stages. I think we've got the tools, we've got the talent. Let's bring it on. But I think the actual story will be firmly set in the US of A, which is I'm chuffed to bits about it.
I'd be there for a cameo of Daredevil, kind of sprinting across the rooftops while Ecto-1 is driving along the street below.
I'm just going to throw a quick theory out to you. So obviously we all know that the glorious Firehouse is in New York, don't we? This is where the original filming took place. Hypothetically, what if they're building a firehouse in the UK to destroy, and then the Ghostbusters moves the house to Hell's Kitchen?
Walter Peck was right. After all these years, after 40 years, they legitimately do blow away half of New York City because of some container unit disaster. Or just the firehouse.
Yeah, or just the firehouse.
I think I'd feel as bad about seeing the firehouse go as I did see Tony Stark die. It'd be like losing a...
Let's not talk... It's too soon.
Too soon, sorry. Also, by the way, if anyone isn't aware that Tony Stark dies in the Marvel Universe, then where have you been? That was years ago.
I think it's more it could be that it's based in New York, obviously with the reference of Hell's Kitchen being not the nicest place, but it could also be an open reference to, Hell's initial kitchen. It could be that something new or fresh is going to be brought to the Ghostbusters universe. It could, as you said, be a complete red herring. But once again, it brings the speculation that, if it does firmly stay in New York, then I'm with Jay. It will be all for it, and obviously, it's where it's found its feet. It's where the franchise has always found its feet, and initially, yeah, I mean, it could be any number of things. I'm open to to speculation.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see what happens. We've got some interesting things to keep an eye out for on the horizon with regards to Ghostbusters news. But
well, speaking on the film though, there was that short scene at the end after the credits where you did see the containment grid blinking, and it looked like a bad sign. So that could potentially go belly up, which is what causes the resurgence of a lot of ghosts and ectoplasmic beings in the area. Also, they could maybe be sprinkling some ideas from Dan Aykroyd's unproduced third film, because he had that story about where they went to. Was it Manhattan, if I remember correctly? So it was like a demonized version of New York. I mean, that could be something that could be sprinkling in as well.
We will watch with interest. All right, cool. So that is a little bit of a summary of what's been going on in the wonderful world of Ghostbusters over the course of the last couple of days, last week or two. Yeah, what do you think? Let us know. You can find us on Instagram. Just search for West Midlands Ghostbusters, or you can find us on Facebook. There is a public page where you can come and say hi, and there is a private group if you would like to join. Admittedly, it is kind of full of people in and around the immediate area, but do you know what? We've also, we let in the odd out of towner. We're not that possessive. So if you want to come along and say, hey, give us a click, give us a like, and let us know what you think and what you're expecting from the sequel to Afterlife. Gentlemen, shall we have a fun Ghostbusters fact?
It's time for a fun Ghostbusters fact. According to a companion handbook from a DVD set of the movie, the human that became Slimer was born in the year 1500. That makes our ugly little spud either the ghost of a Native American, most likely from the Lenape tribe, or a Spanish settler that landed in what we now know as New York City. That was a fun Ghostbusters fact. You're welcome.
So, Slimer, the ugly little spud, the onion head. According to, and I'm not saying this is canon, but it was an officially produced document that did go with an officially released version of the movie. So, would you prefer to see, or would you prefer to think of Slimer as a Native American Indian? Or would you like to think of him as a Spanish settler that has just landed on the shores of New York City and then apparently very, very quickly died? Lee, let's come to you.
Third possibility, could he be the offspring of both?
Haven't considered that possibility.
Aha! Yeah,
the bastard child of an invading Spanish settler and unsuspecting. I don't know how I feel about that. It's opened up a whole can of worms. Is it consensual? Is he the bastard child of someone that's landed on the shores of New York City? Is he not? I'm not ready to think about these possibilities.
Oh, that's it. Well done, Lee. Open up a can of controversy.
Quick, somebody, Theo, dive in with something that potentially doesn't include invasion and rape and pillage.
Could be either or. I'm leaning to more sort of probably more Spanish. Maybe a Spanish settler that it kind of wasn't used to the food and came over and had obviously new and different things. I don't know. Maybe.
And then 500 years later, he's just got a thing for hot dogs and beer. I mean, if you spent 500 years in New York, you're gonna eat the odd hot dog. You're gonna drink the odd bottle of beer. Jay, though, I know this because we have sneakily spoken about this previously. The Ghostbusters Bible says something different, no?
Well, it does, yeah. Although I've just been having a quick look at this, and I mean, this is in the official Ghostbusters brand Tobin Spirit Guide. The actual best guess at the ghost's origins dates back to the apocalyptic cult of Gozer, which held meetings at the Sedgwick Hotel, which does explain why Slimer is in the Sedgwick Hotel. It also explains why he wasn't in Afterlife, if obviously people missed him. But they're basically saying that he was how can I say it, a conjured hungry spirit by the cult, set as a destructive punishment on the world.
Which, to be fair, is a noble attempt at kind of cursing humanity, but in the grand scheme of things, the only thing he was really a threat to was your fridge, or your room service, at least, in the Sedgwick Hotel. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Slimer having that kind of past. I definitely don't know, Lee, how I feel about Slimer having that kind of past that you're bringing up.
Can you imagine if they do like an origin story of Slimer, and he's just like, there's his like mama and papa, and he's just a kid, and then all of a sudden he dies of starvation and becomes Slimer.
Oh my God, that's worse. Stop going down these. No. And he doesn't die. Well, he does, obviously, because he's a ghost, but he certainly doesn't die as a child.
I mean, if you want to look at a nice thing, if you go back to Answer the Call, he even got himself a nice little girlfriend. Let's not feel sorry for Slimer. Let's embrace little Spud.
That is true.
That is true. Conclusive proof, dear listener, that there is indeed someone out there for everyone, even if you are a amorphous floating blob with a penchant for hamburgers and beer. And if that's you, then hey, you do you. Everybody is welcome here at the West Midlands Ghostbusters, even if you are likely to slime us. I don't know where I'm going with this. I really don't know where I'm going with this. Let's do something else. How about we throw to... we have another member of the team who we've actually not introduced yet. You will hear at some point during the podcast run, this first season, you will hear the lovely Annie Potts appearing. She's been kind enough to record a little bit of a jingle for the West Midlands Ghostbusters, so she will be showing up. That kind of blew the budget. So whilst we would like to have a legitimate Ghostbuster on the team, we couldn't quite manage that, but we did end up with an artificial intelligence version of it anyway. We've deep faked the wonderful Dan Aykroyd. We've created our own virtual race dance, and he is going to drop in right now with the big Ghostbusters question of the show. And since we are the West Midlands Ghostbusters, and as I am sure you know, the West Midlands is also the home of Ozzy Osbourne, of Black Sabbath, of, let's face it, just metal music generally. We have created a suitably over-the-top metal-fueled introduction for the big Ghostbusters question.
It's time for our big Ghostbusters question. So, as you know, when I tried to clear my mind and not think of anything, the image of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man just popped in there. So if you tried to clear your head and not think of anything, what form would your Destructor take? Let's hear how Ghostbusters would have ended if you were in my shoes.
Now, bearing in mind, I've asked you guys, so what about the origin of Slimer? And you've taken me some places that I wasn't ready to go. Be gentle now, fair co-hosts. If you were in the position where you were told to clear your mind, or the next thing that jumps into your head is going to appear as the form of the Destructor and is going to end the world, I don't want to ask the question. Jay?
Oh, please don't pick me for this. Right. So when you're in one of them states, in like, again, when you try and not think of something, and all that's coming in, there's three things that's popped in my head all simultaneously. So it might be like a trio.
Pause. Whoop. Hold up. Theo, Lee, worst case scenario, what's one of the three things that Jay is going to share? Because we've done a couple of dummy runs of this podcast, Theo, Jay, and I, and we've got to peek inside Jay's head just a little bit. And it's a nice place to visit, but you might not want to live there. How bad is this going to get, gentlemen? Do we have any idea what's going to come from Jay?
Something along the lines of a Ken doll.
I don't want to know what that means, Theo.
A naked Ken doll?
Technically, aren't all Ken dolls naked? Anyway, no.
He's not.
Again, let's not.
A Ken doll is not anatomically correct.
Nobody said anything about anatomical correctness. All right, back up. It turns out that them trying to speculate what your worst case scenarios might be, Jay, is potentially worse than your worst case scenario. So I'm feeling better about this. What are your three? What are your three worst cases?
Right. So I'll start off. The first one is really simple, and it was something that's very dear to my heart, and that was a Ninja Turtle. The thought of a Ninja Turtle just blasting around Manhattan would be epic, frankly. You could do like a little spin, take a load of buildings down. Happy days.
I could see why you'd go with that.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely, yeah. Like ramming like a scythe through the Statue of Liberty, and
dude.
There's just so many things that could happen with that.
Somebody send in Janine to try and get the world's largest pizza to calm him down. There's crossover potential there. That's all right. That's not as bad as I thought it could be. Okay.
Well, the Turtles have got a good crossover as well with the. They have met quite a few times in the comics. So
yeah, they have. There's a range of action figures, where the Turtles are kitted out in Ghostbusters gear, and I know for a fact I've seen ridiculously good Turtles Ghostbuster mashup cosplay. So okay, all right, that's fine. We've dodged bullet number one. So yeah, let's go back and take a chance for bullet number two.
Yeah. So the second one was your fault then because you said Ozzy Osbourne, and all I thought was like stumbling Ozzy through New York, So yeah, that was a less comedic view. I thought
got the head off Lady Ludwig.
Okay, all right. I'm sure Ozzy's stumbled through New York more than once, but yeah, okay.
So then let's just get to number three, which is it is the man himself, Walter Peck, running around with no penis, basically looking for his penis. I'm sorry, and you can just see like the tourists plugging. That man has no penis.
We called it Theo Ken doll.
A naked Ken doll?
Bizarrely, yes, you did. Okay, I mean, practically writes itself. Lee, what goes on in your head?
Honestly, the first thing that came to my head was a slug, because I just thought about dumping salt on it and we'd be all good.
Did you get that, Jay? Family friendly.
But then the second thing that jumped into my head was Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. And I just have this image now of him running around New York going, "Ahana!" as he's like smashing buildings up.
I suppose it's no more or less likely than a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Where are the Ghostbusters having that much salt from?
To be fair, it is the United States and it is New York City, so pretzel factory, just dunk her her or him, dunk it in the harbour. That's salt water. That'd do the trick.
Well, McDonald's. I mean, there's plenty of salt in their food. Just throw there a couple of Big Macs, and I'm sure they'll be all right.
In theory, right? Okay, all right, yeah, okay. So cutesy Disney New York Death or Slug sounds reasonable. Theo,
if we're gonna pick two, first one, a really clumsy C-3PO, because he'd just carry on apologising as he's crushing everything. No, I'm terribly sorry.
I need that in my life.
Or, because I'm surrounded by lots of it, a giant Lego man.
Everything is awesome.
And the way you can stop him is like you could slot things under his feet so he just gets stuck.
Oh, I kind of want to see that now. I'm
there for it. I think those are all perfectly viable ideas. And nowhere near as terrifying as they could be. So that being said, wonderful, wonderful, dear listener. Side note, you know how when people do podcasts and everyone talks about their listeners, plural, I always find that really weird because podcast listening, or at least I think so anyway, is kind of like a solo activity, no? I always think that you should talk to the listener because, you're in their ears. Around the table, does anyone collectively listen to podcasts with other people?
Oh, there's a couple
occasionally.
Yeah, there's a couple my partner will share with me, which are quite humorous, but no.
There you go. So anyway, yeah. So we digress. So dear listener, if you do happen to be in the special effects business or have a lot of time on your hands to mess around with 3D animation software, if you would be kind enough to create a giant animated, ridiculously polite and apologetic C-3PO trashing New York City for the benefit of the West Midlands Ghostbusters, we would love you forever. And you would make at least one of our dreams come true. All right, that was the Ghostbusters big question of this episode. Well answered, gentlemen. Well answered. Well done. All right, so we have got a very small amount of time left. We're trying to keep these podcasts down to about half an hour or so, there or thereabouts. Give us half hour, we'll give you the Ghostbusters world. But we do have a few last little bits and bobs that we need to wrap up. We've got our very first request for a bit of a shout out, and this is true. I've not made this up for the benefit of episode 1. Legitimately, we've had someone request a little bit of a shout out. So this is going to go out to Pete, Scott, Shaggy, Will and Andy of our neighbours, the Staffordshire Ghostbusters. They have requested a little bit of a shout out from us in the West Midlands Ghostbusters. So to Pete, Scott, Shaggy,
Wasn't me.
Shaggy, Will, Andy, and the rest of the Staffordshire Ghostbusters, hello! You get the very first shout out on Fate, Luck, and Karma. God bless your sweet, sweet souls. The guys are also interested in appearing in an episode down the line, so we will see what happens on that one. Just to potentially alienate that wonderful link to our neighbours in Staffordshire. Gentlemen, what's Staffordshire famous for in your head? Let's come to Theo. This is almost like the what do you think of and what comes to destroy you, right? What do you think of when you think Staffordshire, Theo? There's your answer. Okay, no, that's fine. There's your answer. Staffordshire Ghostbusters. I'm afraid 1 out of 4 of us is drawing a blank. Lee?
2 out of 4 of us are drawing a blank.
2 out of 4 of us are drawing a blank.
Honestly, I've never been.
Never been?
Never been. I would like to go. Just, I've never been. Why not?
Now, you could read that as a bit of a potential turf war thing. So, Pete, Scott, Andy, Shaggy.
Wasn't me.
Will and Andy. This isn't us sending Lee.
Meaning with all respect. All respect.
He's not going to aggressively start
no malice intended.
Nudging our territory into yours. It's not going to be the case. All right, never mind. Well, we're 2 for 2. Jay, what do you think of when you think Staffordshire?
So much, because I'm there on that already. I am.
You are?
I am.
That's where I came to you next.
Oatcakes, Neil Morrissey, Robbie Williams, pottery. Every time you drink a brew, it's there, Staffordshire. Thank you very much.
Right there at the last minute to save a potentially awkward cross-chapter international incident. No, it's not even international. They're a couple of miles away. A local incident at best. Barely even an incident. Just wow. I'm sure they're going to enjoy it. So yeah, we would like to say a big thank you to the guys at Staffordshire Ghostbusters for reaching out to us and wanting to be part of our very, very first podcast. Guys, we very much look forward to having you on the show at some point. And Theo and Lee will go away and do a bucket load of research into fun facts about the legendary part of the world that we call Staffordshire, and that is pretty much us. Thank you so much for listening. This has been episode 1 of season 1 of Fate, Luck and Karma, and you have spent the last half hour with me, Dean Riley, along with
Lee Lawrence,
Jay Wood,
Theo Wilson.
See you next time.